My father and mother came to United States in 1902. His name was San Ahn Chang Ho, and her name was San Ahn. They came to study Western democracy and to gain an American education, ultimately trying to take it back to Korea where they needed some educational reforms. They were the first Korean family unit to come to the United States. But after they arrived here, instead of being able to go to school, they were involved in taking care of the Korean immigration people who had come from Korea, from Hawaii, and they were leaving the Japanese-dominated Korean peninsula. In the meantime, in order to maintain a Koreanness, my father organized the Korean National Association, which became the spokes outfit for the Korean immigrants in United States, Mexico, Cuba, Hawaii, and all over, wherever the Koreans were, even in Vladivostok. But that was his intention in trying to keep the nationalism alive for the Korean people since the Japanese had come in and taken over. Eventually, they had the problem of making a livelihood, and consequently their educational dreams were not realized. My father's one intention was that we would all gather together as a family and go back to Korea to live. That time never came. However, in the meantime, he asked us to be very good American citizens and to never forget our Korean heritage. And that's what he preached to us.
The Korean National Association was organized in November of 1912 in San Francisco, and San Ahn Chang Ho initiated this organization. Prior to that, San Francisco had a United Korean Association for local Korean residents, but the Korean National Association had branches throughout California, Mexico, Cuba, and Hawaii. San Francisco area residents were the core of the association. It was an organization that advocated the independence movement, and as such, there were a great deal of hostility between the Japanese authority, and they in turn were requesting the Koreans to work through their consulate, and the Korean National Association objected to this. So initially it may have appeared as a political organization, but as time passed, most of the government agencies, federal, state, and local, began to deal mainly with the Korean National Association when whatever problem that occurred that pertained to Koreans. It gradually became also known as an association for helping the Korean laborers with their employers, and also students or travelers coming to the United States with improper papers were also sponsored by the Korean National Association so they could get cleared from the immigration office to land in San Francisco or Los Angeles.
Several years ago, the Ahn family donated the papers of Philip Ahn, the actor, to the Korean Heritage Library at USC. And in preparing to receive them, I went out to the Moongate restaurant, the Ahn family's restaurant out in Panorama City. Susan Ahn was mentioning that the family had lived in various parts of Los Angeles during their years here. They had lived over on Bunker Hill for a while. And she also mentioned that at one point they lived at what is now the campus of University of Southern California. Well, this sparked my interest. As it turns out, say 25 years ago or so, all of this area was residential. It was small bungalow-type houses that are typical of California. As it turns out, there was only one of those old style houses still standing on campus, and as luck would have it, it turned out to be the family that the Ahn family had lived in. We held a ceremony for receiving the Philip Ahn papers on this site in front of the house. Both the Korean community and the university community became aware of the existence of this house, and very quickly the university realized what a treasure it had on its hands and committed itself to maintaining it as a physical memory of Ahn Chang Ho and his family and the struggle that he helped to promote.
The Hungsadan was organized in May of 1913 with 8 delegates, who represented each of the 8 provinces of Korea. And this was San Ahn Chang Ho's idea of ridding an organization of regionalism, having 8 delegates, one from each province, to represent the entire country. And prior to the organization, Tosan also had the principal idea of Hungsadan from the Korean Student Association, which he had organized in Korea in 1911. But when he came back to the stateside, Hungsadan was his main purpose of organizing this group. And it was composed mainly of elite Koreans who were willing to dedicate themselves to the cause of the independence movement. And as such, they were required to follow the charter of the organization, which was sincerity and truthfulness, which San Ahn Chang had always advocated for the young groups that were gathered at the Hungsadan. Not only that, loyalty was also an important part of the main ideal of the Hungsadan movement. And he also added courage, which required a great deal of fortitude for people who were going to participate in the independence movement.
My mother was left alone many times because my father was called away to do work for Korea. She raised 5 children by herself. She never complained because she understood patriotism and love of country just as much as he did. My oldest brother became a very famous movie actor, and I'm very proud of him. My second brother is a retired engineer from Hughes Aircraft, and my sister took social welfare sociology from USC, and that was because my father said to us, when you select a career, make sure that it's something that can be applied in Korea when we get our freedom. My youngest brother, who never saw my father, was an all-star football player. He took education, which would be fitting for Korea, just as my father had requested. And my biggest claim to contribution is that I joined the U.S. Navy in 1942, and I became the first Korean woman to be in the United States Navy, or I should say the first Korean. And they were very good to me. They gave me front page publicity because I was Korean and I was fighting for the U.S. Government, but I also was fighting for Korea. And I became the first gunnery officer in the U.S. Navy, and I'm very proud of the fact that I was able to say that I am a Korean, I am an American, and I am fighting for the country. My young brother, who never saw his father, had always thought that someday we could all get together and live together. However, that never happened. My father passed away in a prison hospital in 1938.